Hello, this is Jerry. I will be showing you a rhombus. A rhombus is a quadrilateral shape that has all sides the same length, opposite degree angles, and two pairs that are parallel. So it is essentially a parallelogram. And as you see here, inside of the style tag, we have called the parent div a rhombus, and we set the position relative and gave a size width and height of 600 pixels, and then we were able to center it using margin auto. So from the previous video, I had a video called creating an equilateral triangle, and in this video we're adding towards pretty much most of the code are pretty much the same. We're just adding another triangle to create a rhombus, pretty much. So everything was the same, but from when we created the triangle, but we didn't have this. We just had the triangle, the ID of triangle, and we didn't have the triangle too. And we set the width, the actual pixels and width and height of the single triangle. And then we had the class. This is a class. So in this rhombus, we had, so in the other previous video, we had the pound sign for A, B, and C, which is a div, which if we look below here, we only had for the if it was just triangle, we only had in the body, we only had this in the body but this was but these three were IDs. We just call it class because we will have a duplicate, the same three sides inside of another triangle. When we call this ID2 in order to create a rhombus. And then the parent div, or the outer layer div, we call this a rhombus, so that we can position the rhombus anywhere on the screen or web page, or rotate it anywhere. Okay, so and then we have, note that we have it 60 degrees. So remember the definition. So we have opposite degree angles. So a rhombus can have various degrees. It can be 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, and think about 90 degrees, like a square is considered a rhombus. So because it has congruent sides all the way around, and angles 90 degrees. Okay, so and then also from the the parent div will always be will have a fixed width and height. So we can always if you want to change the size of the rhombus, we just change it up from the parent, and the percentages of the width and height of the triangles, the two triangles, and the sides will always have 100% of the parent, which is the triangle and triangle 2, and this is the same 50% of 600, which is 300 pixels. So all we need to do to change the size is up here. And we set it, margin. We set it center to margin auto, and make sure that it's relative, so that so we have an absolute because when we have triangle, the first triangle, the ID of triangle and ID of triangle 2 are overlapping or in the same position, and by doing that they have that position of absolute, and it is in line with the position relative to make that, you know, position it where it needs to be relative to the outer divs. So let's look at the browser and see where we are. Okay, so as you see here, you know that it's centered. So it's a little bit tricky. Let's go back. Notice that if we see here, we have the left property, and I had to set the calc function to be 25% of the parent div, which is 600 pixels in the width from the left, so which is 150. So 150 divided by 2 is which would be a total of 75 pixels. And stuff like that. So we can have pixel here, but it takes the parent div and assume it will be 75 pixels from step. Yeah. So let's go back to the browser. So as you see here, and it was tricky to center it because we had another triangle rotating to the clockwise, and from you see triangle 2 is rotated, and you see it's width of 409.81, so it's kind of stretching from the tip, from this tip, from that tip, and then somewhere over here. So and that's what made it, you know, a little bit, you know, 300 plus more than width than the other side. So we had to compensate. So I would just have to use the left property, and this 25% is pretty much, it's like 1/4 of 600 pixels. So what I thought about it is I split it in 4. So it's split it in 4. So it's, if I just had one triangle, it would just be, you know, half of this triangle here, which is half of 300 is 150. So that's divided by 2 here, and another division here for the second triangle, another divided by 2. So 2 plus another 2. Now we have 4 division. But I want to divide it. I wanted to make sure that it's centered here. So to do that, so I would have to divide it by another 2, another split right here in the middle, one more split. So like if you see here, if we didn't have, we uncheck this, so this applies to both triangle, ID of triangle, and triangle 2. So if we didn't have, it would be right in the corner, right? So if we had, so it's 25% of 600, 1/4, versus divided by, so 600 divided by 4 is 150. And then here, so, and then we need to divide it again to have a split like in between to make it a little bit more split here, and that's 75 pixels. We can see here 75. So that's how I would, you know, kind of estimate how it's more towards the center. Parent div is already, you know, centered using the, you know, margin auto. Then we need to remove the borders right in the middle here, so which is, let's highlight it so we know which one we, so in the first triangle which is we're inside the first triangle, so which is class B, so which is, let me see, so we need to remove this. Let's go here in the code, and so we need to, for the B, so let's go just set the parent ID with the class. So like just combine these so we can select which one we want. So triangle, we can say triangle, which is class B, like so, and then yeah, and then comma triangle 2, then class C. So here is border bottom, set it to none, and transparent, or color, whatever, something like that. So then save it, and then refresh. It should have, there you have it. Now they both, now you don't see the borders here, as you see border bottom none and transparent. You don't have to set both, you can just set one of these two, just like you can just have transparent, or just by itself, or set it just to none by itself, and it'll be the same thing. So you don't have to set both. So if we can like so, you just set these two, it'll just set to none, it'll just be fine, because you don't have anything showing, and you don't have to set the color to transparent, or you can just set the color to transparent, one way or the other. So you can just save it and refresh, still the same. See, and so like to wrap things up, if you wanted to have a different, like you said, like to change the size, we change from the parent rhombus. Let's say you wanted 300 pixels, or you can change it, but they both must be equal. And also, if you want to change the degree angle, you would have to start with creating a triangle, like in my previous video called creating a equilateral triangle. And you start from there. You start from maybe a 45 degree angle, or 90 degree angle, 30 degree angle triangle, and then you would duplicate that, like I have. You would duplicate those degrees, like either in just the A and B, and yeah, probably just the A and B. A and B is will just be the ones that are going to, you will use to change the degree angles. And yeah, and so you would just duplicate, copy and paste into triangle 2, and then once that is done, you figure out where you want to use the transform origin, somewhere like bottom left or right or center, and then you try to kind of play with it, like try to align the opposite side of that triangle in order to form a rhombus. Okay, let's have a little demonstration. So I'll show you. So I'm just gonna I'm going to just remove the second triangle, so for a minute, so display none. Okay, so and then we're just focusing on the first triangle first. So the first one, we got A, and then we need to bring back the B. So uncheck this. So now it's a triangle. So now we need to change the angles. Let's go ahead and change A and B to like 30 degrees for A by itself, and then B 30 degrees. And then what we need to do is to resize A and B. So okay, for A, go back to A. So we just resize the A here. We go ahead and just reduce that to, we can just kind of play with the size, so we can meet, so this size can shrink and meet right here in the middle. If you see on your left, so you just do like, I don't know, 40%, or you can use pixels if you like, and let's use percentage. So okay, it meets at 58%. So, and then for B, you can do the same thing for B. Maybe then it also will be 58%. And then so we need to translate first. Let's change the Y on the right, so we can line them up, so it will move up on the Y axis. So we just have to play with it and just move up with your down arrow, just so it's in the negatives. So we just need to line up where that middle point here is. Okay, like so. So it's negative 64 pixels. Okay, and then we change the width, so it will be positive on the x-axis. So I'm sure that's until we line up, until it meets this point. Where we can see it. So about 109. And now all we have to do is duplicate this triangle and where on the longer side, which is the altitude or the height of the rhombus. So we will need to duplicate, so we just bring back the second triangle we have here. So we just uncheck this, and actually it did the same thing. It duplicate everything. See, if we do one for one triangle, it does another for the same thing, because is shared because, like I said, it's a class. So A and B, you know, is a class selector, as you see here. So once we do one on here, it does on the other. And that's what I wanted to show you. So I wanted to separate the other triangle from the original, and all we have to do is rotate it where we want to, and then translate and rotate and translate, like on the longer side of the, you know, of the triangle. So let's do that. We'll use the RotateX. So we just changed for the triangle 2 and set that to 180 degrees to flip it in the opposite direction of the first triangle. So it will flip to like so. So it's rotating over the x-axis. So it's like it's the tip of this point here is moving over, is pushing forward, and it's moving, and as the degree increases, it comes to a point where it will flip to the bottom, like you see here. You know, if you had it to 0, it will be the same. So if it was like, yeah, 0, if you had 50 degrees, you really can't really see it. It's in 2D, but you can kind of see, maybe like if I highlight it, well, can't really see it, but it's tilted. So 180 degrees, and now you have yourself a rhombus. And all you have to do is remove the middle portion, as an example, and just remove by doing this. So we just go to the inside the second div. So it's probably, let's see, the C portion. Yeah, C portion for both. Just go in here to change it for bottom none, and then if like you see here, you see that the triangle currently is not centered, and since we adjusted the triangle, it's at the length is at 300 pixels and width, and to center it, we have to go to the in the tag, either in the ID of triangle or triangle 2. So the ID selector triangle 2, or so we do that we can go in here for both, and since we just adjust this to 50% of the of this 50% of the rhombus, the 600, which is 300 pixels, and then we divide 300 pixels in half, like so, and divide it by half, and then and that's 150, and there you have it.
Thank you for watching. We have completed our lesson. You are welcome to subscribe, comment, and share. You may go to the comment section of the video or the discussion section in the area of my channel homepage for a request on any web programming lessons or projects you would like me to show you. Free to code anything.